Often in long-running series, there will be characters first mentioned by name, then hinted at and built up long before their actual reveal. And 4 years removed from said reveal, it's hard to remember just how mysterious that character was. So let's talk about Qrow Branwen from RWBY. Before I get into the meat and potatoes, I want to start by saying I am not interested in any discussion about what might happen to his character in Volume 7, and I'm not interested in opining on Vic Mignogna's situation. But I digress. Qrow was one of the first characters mentioned by name, yet his first actual appearance came in Volume 3. Up to that point, all we knew is that he was Ruby and Yang's uncle, he's the one who taught Ruby how to fight, and he works for Ozpin. And if you go by the manga, which is of dubious canonicity, mind you, he's also the one who inspired Ruby to be a hero. And man, people were expecting some edgy bad boy, or at the very least a Ruby equivalent to Kakashi Arizawa, depending on your frame of reference. What we got was actually exactly that, but also a belligerent drunk who talks smack to cope with his own inadequacies. I will never get tired of that. Regardless of what expectations were, his appearance in Volume 3 was refreshing. Finally, an actual huntsman. Like, an honest-to-God look at what our heroes are trying to be. And on top of that, they made him a bit crazy, talking smack on Atlas and warning the Ozluminati about Salem like some sort of doomsday prepper. And at the end of it all, he plays his hand and puts Ruby on the journey she's been on ever since. As for his role in Volume 4, I had some initial concerns, but I actually liked the way they handled it, for the most part. Keeping an eye on Team Ranger was a good idea. Using them as bait to lure out Salem's henchmen? Morally reprehensible, but it worked. It didn't work out because Tyrion escaped, but it led to quite possibly the best fight in the entire series, and coming from me, that's actually a low bar. In all honesty, Qrow vs. Tyrion was just the first fight to have actual stakes and consequences on top of being fun to look at, and full of nifty little moments. But what I liked had little to do with the characterization. I was worried that he'd invalidate Team Ranger's driving motivation and take over to the detriment of their character arcs, but no, that was Volume 5's job. Volume 4 poisoned him, effectively writing him out so that Ruby and the others had to deal with the Nuclavi on their own. Volume 5 did just the opposite though, cashing in on those fears I had going into Volume 4. He finds Oscar and then forces all the other characters to stay in the house and do nothing until they get an actual phone call from one of the villains asking to meet up. Qrow got jobbed out and suffered in Volume 5, but to nowhere near the same extent as Ruby, Cinder, Raven, and most other characters. It was really bad, and I've spent more than enough time explaining the levels of awfulness across other videos. But as far as Qrow is concerned, the worst part really is the fact he went against his MO from Volume 4. And jumped into those pitfalls the writers avoided back then. Volume 6 finds a pretty good balance. He's not poisoned, at least not in a literal sense. Early on he's just a power player for the party, but then this happens. Turns out the millennia-old wizard has some skeletons in his closet and everything Qrow's tried to accomplish is useless. Even his successful missions only delayed the inevitable. The heroes have to keep winning over and over again until the heat death of the universe, Salem only has to win once. And Ozpin decided to not tell anyone this important fact because he's a dumbass. From there, he becomes exponentially more drunk and flops around from scene to scene getting yoinked by the people he should be protecting. And in the end, he realizes there is some hope and he should have faith in Ruby to find some kind of solution. Or at the very least, thwart Salem's current plan and delay the inevitable for that much longer. Which is a really nifty arc for a mentor to go through, and I can't really think of a similar one. Closest thing I could think of is Kakashi, but even he never really lost hope in the future the way Qrow did. But there's a difference between being good and interesting. You can be good without being interesting, and you can be interesting without being good. And Qrow is definitely the latter. There's just not that much need for a mentor character sticking around like this, and it would be different if he actually acted like a mentor and trained the kids, but that hasn't been the case. And that is just another on the laundry list that is the disappointments associated with this series. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what you would want to see an honest look on. I've been expanding my content away from RWBY, and if you want to see how that's been going, check out one of the 6 honest looks I've done on the Quintessential Quintuplets cast. And if you want to support the channel, I have a Patreon. The link is in the description. I'm Mediocrity4. Thanks for watching.